investigators understand what unsolved crimes do to families, to the survivors of those people, as well as to the community, because it affects all of us. Even though we may not have known that person, it still puts fear and doubt and just anxiety in the community. Today, let's talk about what actually happens, right? How investigations evolve. Investigations evolve based on the information that is still needed, right? Because ultimately, the first 24 to 48 hours are the most important time frame for an investigation. If you watch the first 48, you know that's true. Oftentimes, there are people who may see something initially and be able to contact law enforcement or hear a rumor or know that certain people are involved in certain things. And that can definitely get the investigation going. But tips are extremely important. And sometimes the smallest clue can make the biggest difference. And oftentimes, witnesses sometimes don't know that they're witnesses until they start watching the news, until they start hearing other people talk about things like that, right? And so the other thing that's really important is to preserve all evidence. Evidence preservation is extremely important. If you've watched documentaries on the O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson murders, you know that ultimately some of the forensics weren't doing things by the book as they should have been. For instance, covering up the body with the sheet, as well as sometimes not being as careful about making sure that there wasn't cross-contamination. Additionally, witness reliability is extremely important. And so ultimately, you have to trust what your witnesses are telling you, and they have to be truthful, and they have to actually have provable, corroborated evidence to share. And additionally, technology is extremely important. I mean, DNA has definitely evolved from the time that O.J. Simpson was charged and acquitted to now, right? And so sometimes patience becomes part of justice because we know that a lot of things are going to evolve. A lot of things, Rome wasn't built in a day. Investigations are pretty complex, and there are a lot of moving parts and moving pieces. Part 2, reasonable doubt, the most misunderstood phrase in criminal law. Where the standard came from. The standard came from Rome, essentially, because they wanted to have citizens be able to be part of the jury. And so it is a misunderstood concept because it doesn't mean any and all doubt. It means reasonable doubt. And common misconceptions is that it's all doubt. No, that's not the truth. It's a reasonable doubt. Additionally, media influence can conflate the concept, make people think that it's something that it's actually not, and can actually muddy the waters for certain people. And juries evaluate evidence based on whether it can be proven, whether it makes sense with the theory. Here's the thing. Prosecutors do not have to prove a motive. They can if they like, but if they do that, then they're kind of tied to that, right? So that can be a personal preference for the prosecutor at whatever point. And reasonable doubt protects everyone because reasonable has to be reasonable, right? It can't be, oh, I think an alien did it, right? Clearly, that would not suffice as reasonable doubt. And ultimately, we all enjoy our constitutional rights, such as the right against self-incrimination, such as the right to due process, such as a right to jurors of your peers. There's also things, for instance, if this person is a minority, they need to be able to have people who are similar to them in the community. There can be Batson challenges, which is challenging the jury if, for instance, an African American is being charged and there's all Caucasians, right? Because that would not be a jury of their peers. And so ultimately, asking interactive questions during voir dire, which is when the jury is chosen. And a lot of defense attorneys will tell you that the jury is an extremely important piece when you're a defense attorney, because ultimately you want to have authentic answers. You want to have people who are invested, not people who are trying to get out of jury duty, people who are going to say whatever it takes to get on jury duty, because sometimes there are people who actually want to be on jury duty. So you got to kind of be careful with that too. And would you convict on this evidence is extremely important, because certain people believe that there's a higher, almost impossible threshold than other people. And so is it a perfect system? Not always. But has it done its job for many, many years? Yes. And also ask yourself, what would you need to know? What would you need to know to convict someone? How much evidence would it take for you to be able to convict someone beyond a reasonable doubt? So I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today to Grace and Gavel, where truth meets compassion. My name is Buffy. I'm an almost 18-year criminal defense attorney. And if you got value in this, please feel free to like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Come back and see me again soon. Bye-bye.